What is going on, United fans? Welcome back to UnitedPulseTV, the home of deep Manchester United analysis, transfer breakdowns, and everything happening around Old Trafford. Today, we've got a massive update because United's summer plans are starting to explode into action. Midfield targets, defensive reinforcements, possible exits, and a transfer strategy that could completely reshape this squad under Michael Carrick. But before we dive in, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to UnitedPulseTV, and turn on notifications so you never miss any Manchester United updates throughout this huge transfer window. Now let's get straight into it. Manchester United are no longer sitting back and waiting for the transfer window to officially open. The club are already moving aggressively behind the scenes, and from everything now emerging, this could become one of the biggest rebuilding summers the club has had in years. While many clubs are still evaluating targets and preparing shortlists, United have already been holding meetings, scouting players across Europe, speaking with agents, and preparing major decisions that could define Michael Carrick's entire project at Old Trafford. And honestly, when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you can clearly see what is happening. This is no longer a club operating without direction. This is a club finally trying to build with purpose. The biggest story right now surrounds Ederson. Reports from multiple trusted sources suggest Manchester United are now extremely advanced in their pursuit of the Atlanta midfielder. What makes this situation especially important is that the groundwork appears to already be completed. The conversations have happened. The structure of the deal has reportedly been discussed. The player is open to the move. And now the final decision appears to be in United's hands. That is a major development because it tells you this is no longer just scouting interest. This is a transfer that has moved deep into the serious stages. Even more interesting was the public comment made by Atlanta's coach, who openly admitted the midfielder missed games because of ongoing negotiations with a major foreign club. Managers rarely speak that openly unless a deal is genuinely progressing. Financially, the numbers being discussed also show how serious United are. A long-term contract, a major transfer fee, and a role that clearly positions Ederson as a foundational piece of Carrick's midfield rebuild. This is not the profile of a squad rotation player. This looks like a player United see as central to the future of the team. And when you compare his qualities to what Carrick has publicly said he wants in midfield, the fit becomes obvious. Energy, ball progression, physicality, composure under pressure, the ability to play through transitions. All of those qualities are exactly what United have lacked consistently in recent years. But Ederson is not the only midfielder being aggressively monitored. Elliot Anderson is another name generating enormous attention internally at the club. Reports suggest United want to move quickly for him before the summer becomes complicated by international tournaments and growing competition from other clubs. That timing matters. A lot of fans only focus on transfer fees, but elite clubs also focus heavily on preparation time. Carrick appears to want players integrated early, involved in preseason early, and fully comfortable with the system before the new campaign begins. That is smart planning. Because one of United's biggest problems in recent seasons has been late transfer activity that leaves players arriving without enough preparation or tactical understanding. This time, the club seemed determined to avoid that situation completely. Anderson fits the exact profile Carrick appears to value. Athletic, aggressive, technically secure, capable of covering huge spaces, and comfortable in fast transitional football. You can actually see a pattern forming with all the midfielders United are tracking. Matheus Fernandes, Elliot Anderson, Ederson, even the rumored monitoring of Eduardo Camavinga. Every single name fits a very specific football identity. Carrick clearly wants midfielders who can dominate physically while still being technically clean on the ball. That balance is critical in modern football, especially if United want to compete seriously against the very best sides in England and Europe. And speaking of Camavinga, although reports suggest United are only monitoring his situation for now, the fact his name is even being connected to the club says a lot about the level of ambition behind this rebuild. Because realistically, a player of that quality does not become available often. If there is genuine frustration from his side at Real Madrid, top clubs across Europe will immediately pay attention. Now, whether United could actually pull off that kind of move is another conversation entirely. But the important thing is this: United are finally looking at elite-level profiles again. Not panic buys. Not short-term fixes. Not players signed without a clear tactical plan. Actual profiles that fit the manager's football vision. And this is where Michael Carrick's influence becomes extremely important. One of the biggest reasons United fans should feel encouraged right now is because Carrick appears to have earned enormous trust internally. Remember, when he first took over, there were still doubts. There were questions about whether he could handle the pressure permanently. Questions about whether he could rebuild the dressing room. Questions about whether he could compete against elite managers. But what happened afterward changed everything. Big victories. Champions League qualification. Improved culture around Carrington. Clear tactical identity. And perhaps most importantly, stability. That stability is now creating alignment behind the scenes between Carrick, Jason Wilcox, and Omar Barada. And honestly, that alignment may be the single most important thing happening at Manchester United right now. Because when the manager, recruitment department, and executive leadership are all pulling in the same direction, transfer windows become smarter and more efficient. Targets become clearer. Squad building becomes more logical. And expensive mistakes become less likely. That does not guarantee success, of course. But it massively increases the chances of building something sustainable. Defensively, United are also continuing to explore major options. One player heavily discussed is Josh Achampong from Chelsea. Now this is a very interesting situation because United have reportedly monitored him for quite some time, and the appeal is obvious. Young. Versatile. Comfortable at right back and center back. Athletic. High ceiling. And possibly available if Chelsea cannot guarantee regular opportunities. This kind of move actually makes a lot of sense strategically. Not every transfer has to be a £100 million superstar signing. Sometimes the smartest deals are the ones made before a player fully explodes. And Achampong fits that category perfectly. At the same time, United are also reportedly looking at experienced defensive leadership options like Bremer from Juventus. That would represent the opposite side of the rebuilding strategy. Youth on one side. Experience and leadership on the other. And honestly, that balance is exactly what this squad needs. Because while United absolutely need young talent, they also need players capable of immediately improving the mentality and defensive structure of the team. Bremer would bring authority, physicality, aggression, leadership. The only complication is Juventus reportedly consider him untouchable. But in football, untouchable sometimes changes when serious money arrives. So this is definitely one to watch carefully. Now alongside arrivals, exits are also becoming increasingly important. Joshua Zirkzee's future appears uncertain, with reports suggesting Roma are interested in bringing him back to Italy. And analytically, this makes sense for everybody involved. With Sesko continuing to develop and establish himself, the pathway for Zirkzee becomes smaller. United recovering a solid fee would create room financially while also helping streamline the squad. And honestly, squad clarity matters. Too many overlapping profiles create imbalance. Carrick appears determined to avoid that problem. One thing that also stands out from all these reports is how strategically United are approaching timing. Several of the club's top targets are players not involved in major summer international tournaments. That is not random. That is deliberate planning. Why? Because players without tournament commitments are easier to integrate early into preseason. Deals become simpler. Medical schedules become easier. Training integration happens faster. And managers get more preparation time. That is the kind of detail serious clubs focus on. And for the first time in a long time, United genuinely appear to be thinking several steps ahead instead of reacting late to problems. Now obviously, not every target will arrive. Some negotiations will fail. Some clubs will refuse to sell. Some prices may become unrealistic. That is normal in every transfer window. But the overall picture emerging here is incredibly important. Manchester United finally look like a football club with structure again. There is a clear tactical identity developing. There is communication between departments. There is planning around profiles instead of random opportunities. And there is growing belief that Carrick is building something sustainable. The next few months could genuinely define the direction of this entire era at Old Trafford. Because if United execute this window properly, this squad could look dramatically stronger by the start of next season. The midfield could become more athletic. The defense could become more balanced. The tactical structure could become clearer. And most importantly, the team could finally start resembling a side capable of competing consistently at the highest level again. But as always, execution is everything. Good plans only matter if the recruitment is correct. The right signings. The right mentality. The right balance. That is what will decide whether this rebuild truly succeeds. And right now, all eyes are on Manchester United to see whether they can finally deliver the kind of transfer window fans have been waiting years to witness. But United fans, what do you think about all these transfer developments? Which signing would you want the club to complete first? Ederson? Elliot Anderson? Camavinga? Or do you think United should focus more on defense this summer? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to UnitedPulseTV, and turn on notifications so you stay updated with every single Manchester United transfer story throughout the summer. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Glory, glory, Manchester United!